Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhav ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Srila Gurudev ki, Nitai Gaura Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So thank you for joining us this afternoon. I think yesterday we had discussed about the starting point of Sharanagati. And Sharanagati is such an important principle in our devotional service. In devotional service, surrender to Krishna is the ultimate goal of a devotee's life. But how we surrender to Krishna, to what extent we surrender to Krishna, that is what this particular time that we are spending together is meant for. Yesterday, if you recall, we looked at one shloka. And in that shloka, which is very famous shloka, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, 22nd chapter, 100 verse. Now in that 100 verse of the 22nd chapter, you find that this particular verse from Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu is given very nicely. And we will read the same verse again today so that we refresh ourselves. For those of us who may have just joined us today, at least reading the verse will give you some context of what we did yesterday. Anukulyasya sankalpaha Pratikulyasya varjanam Rakshishyatiti vishvaso Goptritve varanam tatha Atmanikshepa karpanye Sadvidha sharanagatihi. Now yesterday we read the translation also, so let's repeat the translation. The 6 divisions of surrender are the acceptance of those things favorable to devotional service, the rejection of unfavorable things, the conviction that Krishna will give us protection, the acceptance of the Lord as one's guardian or master, full self-surrender, and humility. So these are the 6. Yesterday we were reading in the first part of how the first 2 items are, and we discussed these 2 items, that a devotee must first learn to accept anything that is favorable in discharging devotional service. And when you do that, automatically, without separate endeavor, when you accept something, you will always have to forego something else, isn't it? Even though the word reject is used here, Prabhupada in the purport actually uses the word renunciation. So therefore, when we accept something which is favorable for Krishna, Jai Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki, Srinath ji ki, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ji ki. When we accept something which is favorable for our Krishna consciousness, then automatically we should understand that we are foregoing something. For example, you are here. If you are here now to hear about Krishna, you can't be anywhere else. Unless, you are a plenary portion of Krishna, then you could perhaps have, or maybe you have some siddhi. Apart from that, you are all very much here. Of course, whether your mind is here or not, that's up to you. Whether you can hear what's happening, that's up to you. But at least you're physically here, which means you have foregone something. You have given up your afternoon sleep, for example. You could have done something else on a Sunday, but you are here. So you have just effected the first 2 principles of surrender. That you have accepted something, an activity today that you consider favorable for this devotional service. Because you know in your heart that when you come to hear anything about Krishna, that is always very pleasing to Krishna. When we come together and we try to put Krishna in the center, that becomes very pleasing to Krishna. Why? Because we are actually demonstrating this important principle. And this principle is given by Krishna in Bhagavatam. Rite rita yat pratiyeta, na pratiyeta chatmani. Tadvidvan atmano mayam, yatha baso yatha tamaha. This is the first shloka in the Chatur shloka in Srimad Bhagavatam. 2.9.33. Right? In 2.9.33, Brahma is told by Krishna that anything in this world, no matter how valuable it is, and many of us have many valuable things in our lives, but Krishna tells Brahma that no matter how valuable something is, if it is not utilized in my service, if it is not connected to me, then that which appears to be valuable actually has no value. Instead of being valuable, it will drag you down into the depths of ignorance. So, it is a very practical verse for us. What is the most valuable thing that we may have? Some of us may think that we have money, maybe properties, maybe some assets. These are all valuable, no doubt. But how are they connected to Krishna? Are we using them in any which way, or some portion of them for Krishna? And then there is the question of time. Are we using our time for Krishna? Actually, no one can put a value to time because time is invaluable. Our precious time is very precious. But if you use precious time for Krishna, Krishna becomes very happy. So the essential principle in accepting that which is favorable to Krishna is actually to understand that Krishna is actually the center of our lives. That is very important. The other principle that we spoke about yesterday of acceptance and rejection is that very often the material idea of accepting something and the spiritual idea of accepting something can be different. Look at the example of Parikshit Maharaj. Yesterday we spoke about him. We know that Parikshit Maharaj was cursed to die in 7 days, but he never saw the Brahmana's curse as something which was unfavorable. In fact, he accepted it because in Bhagavatam he says that Brahmana's curse is just another form of Krishna. Krishna has come in the form of a Brahmana's curse because he knows otherwise I'll be so attached to my family, so attached to my kingdom, that I would say I will renounce, but at the end of the day we will never renounce. So that's very difficult actually. Actually, it is very difficult for us to leave something which is material by nature. Because very often we may say that Krishna is very important to us. But when the time comes for us to actually surrender to Krishna, that may not happen. Prabhupada told this very interesting story, about this gentleman known as Chandulal. You may have heard of Chandulal. So Chandulal, one time, he was supposed to be a very pious and wonderful devotee of the Lord. And Narada Muni knew him because he lived very near to Dwarka. So one day what happened was, Narada went to see Krishna. And Narada asked Krishna that this Chandulal is such a nice devotee. When will he be able to come back to see you, my Lord? So Krishna smiled. And he said, do you really think that Chandulal is very surrendered? And Narada said, yes, I think he's very surrendered. So Krishna said, why don't you go and talk to him now and tell him right this moment, Krishna is willing to accept you in your form. Just come back to him now. So Narada thought Chandulal will jump on this. And so he went to see him. Now Chandulal was just newly married, but he was very pious. And when he opened the door and he saw Narada Muni, he was very happy. He said, Narada, I've been thinking of you so much. I'm praying so hard to Krishna. I want to surrender my whole life to him. And Narada said, I brought you good news today. The good news is you can surrender completely to Krishna. All you have to do is drop whatever you're doing now. Renounce everything. And right now, if you walk with me back, Krishna will accept you. So Chandulal became very happy. He said, this is the greatest day of my life. So Narada said, stop talking, let's walk. And then Chandulal said, I have just one problem here. My problem is, I just got married. And when I get married and the wife is very new to Krishna consciousness, if I suddenly leave her, what will people think of Krishna? Not me. What will people think of Krishna? What kind of reputation will I bring to Krishna? You see? So he said, then I have to stay for a while. So Narada said, now how long you want to stay? He said, let me stay with her until some children come. Then she'll be happy with the children, she'll forget me, which is not true, by the way. Right? So then he said, all right, I'll wait for a few years now. So he said, Narada said, all right. So what happened was, then Narada went back and he told Krishna. Krishna said, all right, you go back and see whether he surrendered. So 5 years later, he goes back. And now there's a child there. There are 2 children actually. And Chandulal is very happy to see Narada. And Chandulal tells Narada that, Narada, I'm so happy that Krishna's offer still stands. He's really willing to bring me back even now. And again Narada says, enough of talking. 5 years have passed. Now you're ready, you should move. Then he said, listen, my children are just growing up now. This is the time when my wife really needs my help. If I leave now and I abandon her, now what will the world think of Krishna? Because they will think that those who come to Krishna consciousness, they just abandon their wives and they forget their children. So Narada, do me a favor. When they grow up, they get settled, you come and see me. I am ready even now to go with Krishna, but now because I have to think of his reputation, I have to stay for a while. All right, if you have to, I'll come back again later. Now he has come. Now years later, Narada comes back again. And he says, Chandulal, everything is done now. Your children are grown up. I see they're even married. So now there's nothing for you left. And Chandulal said, I can come even now. But just think about it. The children have got married and now the daughter-in-laws are in the house. And mother-in-law is there, my wife. And you know that mother-in-law and daughter-in-law in the same kitchen is potentially a Kurukshetra situation. It's a very dangerous situation. I have to be there just to make sure, that everything is Vrindavan atmosphere. It's not Kurukshetra atmosphere. So just wait for a while. When the grandchildren come, then things will be all right. And so Narada thought, Krishna is very kind, but I'll come back again. And so one final time Narada came. At that time when Narada came, Chandulal had no more excuses because children were settled. Daughter-in-laws were getting along well with his wife. Money was there. When Chandulal saw Narada walking towards the door, he started running up the stairs. He wanted to hide. But in the way of his running, he fell. He broke his neck and he passed. He died. So now Narada Muni went back to see Krishna and said, Krishna, today is a very tragic day. This Chandulal, whom I ran after so many years to surrender, when I was just coming to him to get him to surrender, he died. So now, he had so many opportunities. I don't know now which life he has taken. I don't know where he is. How do we save him? And Krishna said, don't worry. I know exactly where Chandulal is. So Narada said, tell me. He said, you go back to the same house. Just beyond the house, there's a tree. Under the tree, there's a dog. That dog is always watching the house. That is Chandulal. He is now taken birth as a dog because he was very attached to the to the house. So you go and talk to him. I will give him the power to understand what you say. And you tell him, even now if he surrenders, I will take him back in the form of the same dog form. I will take him back. So Narada was thinking, Krishna is so kind to a surrendered soul. So now he goes to the house. Of course, Chandulal is no more in the house. But to his surprise, he sees the doors are open, windows are open. Then he looks at the tree and he sees the dog is sitting there. And he goes up to him and says, hey Chandulal, do you remember me? And the dog looks very sad. He says, of course I remember you. I'm so sad. Whole lifetime you were chasing after me to surrender. I could not give up anything to take up Krishna. But now I'm in the dog's life. I'm doomed. And Narada said, I have good news for you today. Krishna has said that in your same body, if you want to go back, even now, you just have to walk with me, Chandulal. So walk with me now. There's no wife, there's no children, there's nothing. Just walk with me. And Chandulal, the dog, said, I'm ready even now to walk with you. But see, Narada, we have a problem. All my property, my things, everything, it's in the house. Look at my irresponsible family. Doors are open, windows are open. They just walked out of the house like that. I have to stay here to take care of everything, just to make sure nobody comes. After that, you tell Krishna, I'm ready to come back. And Narada then realized that Chandulal will never surrender actually. So surrender is a very difficult thing. It's a very simple story Prabhupada brought up. But it shows that actually, while we take up the devotional service, to actually put our heart into surrender is not just an action. It is actually a deep-rooted devotion. Which is why the acceptance of that which is favorable to us must be very strong. When you see that you are in the midst of everything that's favorable for Krishna consciousness and you reject it, then we become Chandulals. But when we realize that even something is favorable and other things are not, but we hold on to that which is favorable, then we will grow in our surrender. So that's the first two limbs that we covered. Now the first two limbs move very nicely into the third and fourth limb. In the third and fourth limb, it is just very simple. One, the conviction that Krishna will give protection. That's number one. And number two, the acceptance that Krishna is my guardian and my master. What a nice point. So if you look at the purport, right, and you can do it at your own time, but I just want to concentrate on the purport. In the purport for the third limb, I read to you what Prabhupada says. A devotee must be firmly convinced that Krishna will give him protection. This is the first point of the third limb. We must become convinced that if we are in difficulty, it is Krishna who gives us protection. Then Prabhupada says, no one else actually can give us protection. It's a very important point. The unborn child in the womb of the mother, in the third canto, 30th chapter, the unborn child, it says beautiful prayers when it is in the womb of his mother. And one of the first few prayers it says is this point, that Krishna, even though I'm in a dark place and I'm in so much difficulty, the truth is, you are now with me, even now. Even at the point when I am in a dark, difficult place in my mother's womb. And this place of the mother's womb, Bhagavatam says, is a very difficult place. You know, mother's womb is not AC, there's no aircon, it is very dark. You can't turn on a light. There's nothing. And Bhagavatam describes that the position of the fetus is such, it is like a bow which is strung, And in that position, the child has to be not for 1 day or 2 days, but for 9 months. And whatever the father or whatever the mother eats, Bhagavatam says, the child has to also absorb. So if the mother eats food which are pungent, which are spicy, the child has to tolerate it, even though the child is not capable of doing it. If the mother becomes angry, the child becomes disturbed. If the mother is upset, the child also becomes disturbed. Mothers, you may have felt it. I have known many mothers who have actually told me that when they became upset, they found that the children were kicking harder because they were also upset. So millions of years before science saw the signs that the fetus actually responds, Bhagavatam had already spoken about it in its prayers. And the child in the womb of the mother, he makes one very nice point. He says that Krishna, you are avikaram akanda bodham. In other words, you are eternal and you are situated within the womb with me. You are the only companion that I have. And you are the only one protecting me in this darkened, difficult place. So actually, all of us have chanted the unborn child's prayers. Every one of us were given that possibility and that gift from Krishna to remember who we were when we were actually in the womb. But Bhagavatam tells us by the end of gestation and by the time we come out, the force of our coming out into this material world is so great that by the illusory energy of the Lord, we cannot remember our prayers to Krishna. But that doesn't mean we cannot revive our prayers to Krishna. That's the power of Bhagavatam. So, Prabhupada says that no one else can give one protection except Krishna. When we think that someone can give us protection, we forget that person also needs protection. In the 5th canto, 17th or 18th or 19th chapter, this is a very nice prayer. Women like these prayers, especially when they're fed up with their husbands. In these prayers, Lakshmi Devi is saying beautiful prayers to the Lord. And one of the prayers that she starts with is that she says to Krishna that, my dear Lord, so many women are praying for good husbands because they firmly believe that the husbands will protect them. But I'm of the view that these women are very foolish because they don't realize that the husbands can never protect them in any situations, because the husbands cannot even protect themselves from the difficulties of material world. So a lady is very intelligent, Lakshmi Devi says, when she looks only to Krishna as her supreme protector. She may have a husband, but she knows that Krishna alone can protect her. You see? So Lakshmi Devi is such a great personality. She's always at the lotus feet of the Lord, massaging him. That is her wonderful service to him. And when she does that, she does it in the mood of surrender, which is that I am always at the lotus feet of the Lord, and therefore I'm always protected. You see, this is the mood that she gives. And yesterday we spoke about this point that Narada actually told Yudhishthir Maharaj. He said that if you yourself are caught in the net of this material world, how can you possibly protect someone else? You are under Kala, you are under Guna, and you are under Karma. You are also caught. So do you really think you can protect Dhritarashtra? Do you really think you can protect Gandhari? You can't. You can't even protect yourself. This is the truth. This is such an important point for devotees who are parents, for example. As parents, we are always protective over our children. But a parent who is a devotee will realize that ultimately, no matter how much we want to protect our children, it is the Lord who protects them. We can pray to Krishna. We can become instruments in His hands to serve our children. But protection is in His hands. That we should remember. So that's what Srila Prabhupada is saying. And Prabhupada says, how do we develop this feeling that Krishna alone can give me protection? Prabhupada says, one who is firmly convinced of this, right, is called, that person, a person who has this feeling of being convinced, he has faith in Krishna. So in the third limb, faith is the operative principle. Please remember that. In the first two limbs, acceptance, seeing the hand of Krishna is the operating principle. And renouncing that which doesn't help us is another important principle. But in the third limb, the really important principle here is how much faith we have in Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada gave us such a nice, simple example of faith, isn't it? He gave that famous story of the cobbler and the Brahmana. You remember? Prabhupada said, that one time again Narada was going to see Krishna on the way to Dwarka. He came across a very learned Brahmana, very expert with sastras and everything. He was always doing puja, so very Brahmanical. When he saw Narada, he said, Narada, where are you going? Narada said, I'm going now to see Krishna in Dwarka. He said, all right, if you're going to see him, can you ask him a question? He said, sure. Ask him how many more lives I will need before I go back to him. Because based on all my calculations and what I'm doing, I think very, very soon I should be going back to Krishna. So Narada said, all right, I'll pass on the message. Now he passed by the cobbler, sitting under a huge banyan tree. And the cobbler was just doing very simple menial work of repairing shoes. So the cobbler said, Narada, how nice to see you. Where are you going? I'm going to see Krishna. Oh, wonderful. Can you please ask Krishna one question? Yes. Can you ask him how many more lives I must take before I can see him? Because it doesn't matter to me actually, because by sitting here and remembering him, I'm also happy. But I just want to know because I know I'm very fallen and I must work hard at my devotional service. So Narada said, all right, I will go. So Narada went to see Krishna, and after talking to Krishna, he said, oh, by the way, I met these two personalities. Both are asking the same question, so give me the answers so I can tell them. So Krishna told him that you tell the Brahmana that he needs many lives before he comes to see me. And you tell the you tell the cobbler, in this life he will come back to see me. So Narada was a bit confused. Narada said, on paper, the Brahmana is such a great devotee. He's highly skilled in all that he's doing. He should be coming back soon. The cobbler, he's just doing his work. I don't see him doing anything else. So Krishna said, when you see them, you tell them, they will ask you that, did you see Krishna? And they will ask, what was Krishna doing? You tell them something. So Narada left. He came to see the Brahmana. Brahmana said, so did you see Narada? Did you see Krishna? He said, yes. And Krishna's answer was, you need many lives before you see him. Brahmana was a bit shocked. Brahmana said, Narada, are you sure you saw Krishna? And Narada said, yes. If you did, tell me what Krishna was doing. And he said, when I saw Krishna, he was doing something wonderful. Adbhutaha. He was actually, right, he was putting an elephant through the eye of a needle. Right? For those of us who have tried putting even a thread through the needle, it's very difficult. Okay? I don't know how you all do it, but for me it's like, wow, I can't even see it properly. But Krishna is putting an elephant through the eye of the needle. The Brahmana said, now I know very, very sure, I'm very sure you did not see Krishna. Because it's impossible to do that. And Narada understood by his answer how little faith he had. Faith, the operating principle of having full conviction that Krishna will give you protection. Then what happened is Narada passed by and he saw the cobbler. And the cobbler was sitting there and he said, did you see Krishna? He said, yes. And he said, I have good news for you. Krishna said, in this life you are going to go back. And the cobbler said, I can't believe it. Did you see Krishna? What was Krishna doing? Because I'm happy to hear about Krishna. The cobbler was not so excited about going back to Krishna as he was hearing about Krishna. And so he asked, tell me what Krishna was doing in Dwarka. And he said, Narada said, Krishna is doing something wonderful. He was threading an elephant, through the eye of a needle. And to his surprise, the cobbler said, only Krishna can do this. How wonderful it is. But for Krishna, this is nothing. And so Narada his curiosity became piqued. And he said, why do you say that? And this is the point that Prabhupada stresses in the story. Because the cobbler said that actually, look at the tree behind me. It's such a big banyan tree. But you know where it comes from? It comes from the smallest of smallest seeds actually. If you have ever seen a banyan tree seed, right, it's really small. It's not very big. And yet the tree is massive. So actually the cobbler said, Narada, if Krishna can make a tree if Krishna can start a tree so small and it can become so amazingly large, then what is the trouble for him to thread an elephant through the eye of a needle? It is not difficult at all. Prithvi Renuranur Payam Sikhanikaha Falgus Pulingo Lagus Tejas Nishvasvanam Marut Tanutaram Randram Sushukshmi Nabaha Shudra Rudra Pitamaha Pabritaha Kita Samasta Suraha. These lines are from Mukunda Mala Stotra, text 14. When you have time, you can read them. In this particular one, Mukunda Mala Stotra are the stotras or the prayers by Kulashekar Alva, one of the great Vaishnavas. In this particular shloka, he tells us the greatness of Krishna. He says, Prithvi Renur Anur Payamsi Kanikaha. He says, by just taking darshan of our Savior, who is Krishna, we come to understand that the great fires of the world, for example, the fires of creation or destruction, which are very powerful, in front of Krishna, those fires are like minute sparks. This great earth, which is very vast, in the presence of Krishna, it is like a mere piece of dirt, a speck of dust, nothing more. Then he says that you look at all the waters of the world, so much of waters in this world, but in front of Krishna, they are like not drops, but droplets. Then he says, look at the great winds that can blow away things in the world. In the presence of Krishna, Nishvasvanam. Nishvasvanam means in the presence of Krishna, the winds are like a faint sigh. You know when you sigh, that's it. In front of Krishna, that's all it is. Then he says, this sky and ether that you see in the universe is so powerful. But in the presence of Krishna, it is just like a little dot, like a navel, like a dot which resembles a navel. And then Kulashekar Alva says that with a dust from the lotus feet of the Lord, all of these great elements can easily be conquered. This is the greatness of Krishna. which is why only Krishna can give us protection. No one else can give us protection. And this protection increases as our faith increases. There is a very subtle but important relationship in our surrender to Krishna and our faith to Krishna. In faith, it is so important for us. Where is that? There's that very important verse on faith, 9.3 of Bhagavad Gita. Ashraddha dana purushaha, right? Dharmasyasya parantapa. Aprapya mam nivartante mrityu samsara vatmani. Krishna says in 9.3 of Bhagavad Gita that those who are not faithful in their devotional service, they cannot attain me. Now, this faithful in devotional service actually means the point of surrender. That we see that only Krishna is our protector. No one else can protect us. When we have our parents, when we were young, we genuinely thought parents can protect us. But as we grow older and we understand from Shastra, parents tried their best to protect us. But ultimately, without the sanction of Krishna, no one can protect anyone. No one. Prahlad Maharaj says in the 7th canto, he says that when parents have a child and the child falls sick, the parents become helpless because no matter how many doctors they have, if the child's health cannot improve, that is Krishna's will. We can't do anything about it because that is the sanction of Krishna. So therefore, protection is a very powerful point. But the devotee is not just interested in the protection of his body or her body. That is one level of protection. For example, Prahlad Maharaj's body was protected so many times by Lord, isn't it? But ultimately, Prahlad Maharaj's real protection was actually in his consciousness. His consciousness. Remember yesterday we spoke of 787 of Srimad Bhagavatam? How finally, when Hiranyakashipu asked him, how are you so strong? He said, where do you get this strength from? Where is this strength coming from? And finally he says that the source of my strength is the source of your strength also. You see? So this kind of thinking, this kind of consciousness will only come when Krishna protects our consciousness. So for a devotee, the body will eventually have to leave us. Whatever we do, Prabhus and Matajis, our bodies are deteriorating. Isn't it true? Whatever we were 10 years ago, we are not 10 years later the same. We are slowing down a little bit. Most of the hair may be going, some may be there. Some teeth may be there. Sometimes it's gray. Sometimes the teeth is not our teeth anymore, right? So like that, so many things are there. And it's very difficult for us to do anything. But for a devotee, it is the consciousness that really matters. Body will come and go. Health will also come and go. We pray for good health so that we can pray and serve Krishna. Jai Shri Shri Gonitai Ki. Bhagavatam tells us that we all have the right to pray to the Lord for good health, provided we use it for Krishna. But ultimately, it is up to Him. And therefore, the protection that Krishna speaks about, the protection that Shastras speak about, is the protection of our consciousness. I'm not sure whether you know, I can't remember which part of the US it was, but many years ago, there was a Srila Prabhupada's disciple, and she had been serving the temple for so many years as pujari. And what happened was, she began developing Alzheimer's, dementia, and she began forgetting many things. And it came to a point, where it was rendering her completely incapable of performing her pujari duties. It was very difficult for her to do that. So the devotees felt very sad because they felt that here was a devotee who had given so much of her life to Krishna. Why is it that Krishna should give her Alzheimer's or or dementia such that she's forgetting many things? But the amazing part of her dementia was that she never stopped chanting. You know why she never stopped chanting? Because every time she finished chanting, she forgot that she had chanted. And every time that she had completed 16 rounds, she forgot she had chanted 16 rounds. And in her forgetfulness, she would chant again, and again, and again. There was no end to her chanting. By the time she left this material world, She was surrounded by devotees and she was chanting. So even in a situation which appears very morose and difficult in the material world, when we are convinced and we have faith in Krishna, the protection that he gives to our consciousness can be nothing short of amazing. This is something we should remember. Jada Bharat, if you recall in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Jada Bharat was actually the third life of Bharat Maharaj, right? Bharat Maharaj started his first life as a great king and a great devotee. And then what happened was, instead of surrendering to Krishna, he was supposed to surrender to Krishna and he left. He went to Pulasya ashram, where he sat down and performed austerities to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He renounced his kingdom and family and everything just to be with Krishna. But as he sat there one day, by somehow the arrangement of providence, a very young baby deer was left helpless because its mother died. And so Bharat Maharaj as a Kshatriya thought, let me take care of the deer because now it has come under my protection. My protection. And so he began taking care of the deer. But he was supposed to be there to remember Krishna. But the more time he spent with the deer, the less time he spent with Krishna. And he came to a point when even if the deer went off in the forest, Bharat Maharaj's mind would become so anxiety filled because he would think, where is my deer? You know, has it been stolen by someone? Has it been kidnapped? Has it been eaten by a larger animal? In doing so, Bhagavatam said he completely forgot that the whole purpose of him leaving everything was actually to be with Krishna. This is something that we should learn from Bharat Maharaj. Because sometimes we take up devotional service and we are very certain that we have come to the temple only to glorify Krishna. But after coming to the temple, if we are not careful, we may bring our material baggage into the spiritual atmosphere. Supposing we are very used to creating a social environment, just having friends. We're not interested in Krishna, we just want to make friends. Then we will come here. But we don't realize that we are not coming here because we have faith in Krishna. I remember in Singapore, there was one boy who joined us in the program. And he was coming so regularly. And one day I asked him, Prabhu, I'm really happy to see you coming regularly. Why are you here? What's your motive? What is it that's inspiring you in Krishna consciousness? He said, actually, I came here to find a girl to get married. And I thought, okay. He said, this is the best place, Prabhu, to find a girl. You don't want to find your future wife in a pub, in a bar. You want to find her in the temple. So I'm coming here and praying to Krishna. Our deity is Jagannath. So I'm praying to Jagannath. And I'm hoping that I'll get a nice girl. I said, all right, keep coming. At the same time, my wife told me that there was a girl who had come to the temple. And she was continuing also regularly. So both me and my wife met her and we asked her, why are you here? And she said, I'm here because I'm praying to find a nice husband. And by Krishna's arrangement, they met in the temple. And they got along. And we were happy for them. And they got married and we were there. And there was a nice program and everything. After marriage, we never saw them again. That was it. That was it. We never saw them again. We pray for them, but we never saw them again. So you see, protection equals to faith. And when we come to take darshan of Krishna, we should ask ourselves, are we coming here because of some ulterior motive? Or are we coming here because we have full faith in Him? And we have faith that when we come here, we are under His divine protection. And that our consciousness will be protected so that we grow it in devotional service. That is the third limb. So if we really wish to surrender on the third limb, then we must know that Krishna is whole and soul. He is otam, protam. Remember? Horizontal, vertical. Right? He is at the junction of everything. And whatever difficulty that we have, we see the hand of Krishna. That is how the first two limbs go very nicely with the third limb of protection. There's another story that Prabhupada said that's so interesting in Sharanagati. And there was a king, and he had a minister who was very favorable to him and who was a great devotee. The minister always told the king that no matter whatever happens in the kingdom, never forget to see the hand of Krishna. No matter how calamitous something is, there's always a reason why Krishna puts us through something. In other words, the faith the minister had in Krishna was very strong. So the king was very inspired by that. One day the king, the minister, and a few others, they all went to the forest to hunt, because the king had to hunt regularly so that he would be ready as a Kshatriya. As they were moving in the forest, suddenly, as they were going, a lion came out. And when the lion came out, no one was prepared to defeat the lion except the brave king. In the struggle that ensued, the king somehow or another managed to push off the lion. But in doing so, while he managed to be victorious and the lion ran away, he lost a thumb. And when he lost his thumb, he became very upset. All the other ministers surrounded him and said, "Today is such a tragic day, Maharaj, because you have lost your thumb." But the other minister told him, "You are so fortunate that Krishna protected you. After all, it is only a thumb. There must be a reason, a good reason why you have lost your thumb." Now the king became very upset. You've lost your thumb, and someone tells you, "Prabhu, don't worry, it's Krishna's mercy." I think your blood pressure will also increase, isn't it? So he also got very upset, and he said, "Send this minister back and imprison him. I don't want to hear him. I don't want his talk about everything is Krishna." So what happened was the minister was sent back and he was imprisoned, leaving the king and the rest of the entourage to continue in the forest. As the king went deeper into the forest, he became separated from the rest of his entourage. And then he got caught by bandits in the forest. You know, bandits in the forest are known as dacoits, isn't it, in India? So the dacoits caught him. And the story goes that after catching him, the dacoits brought him to the king of the dacoits. Not this king, but the king of the dacoits. And they told them, and the king said, "Prepare him for sacrifice. Because it's very auspicious that we catch someone like that. Sacrifice so that we can pray that our dacoiting will continue in a better fashion." So the chief pujari, not pujari here, but chief pujari of the dacoits, right? They also have their chief pujari. They put the king very nicely and they gave him a bath and cleaned him. Then the chief pujari realized something is not right. He goes back to the king of the dacoits and said, "We have a problem. According to our sastras," and they have sastras too, according to our sastras, if you want to sacrifice someone, he must be complete. In this case, this person is not complete because he's lost a thumb. So we cannot sacrifice him. And the dacoits let the king free. The king came back to his kingdom, went straight to the jail, the prison. He released the minister and he embraced him. And he said, "Today I've realized the value of faith. You had so much faith that you told me that even if I'd lost a thumb, it may appear to be tragic, but ultimately it actually saved my life. I did not have the faith you had, but you had the faith that I should have had." So the minister was very happy for the king. But then the king had one more question. He said, "I want to know, if you have so much faith and you see the hand of Krishna in everything, where was the benefit in you being in prison all this time and suffering?" And the minister said, "You know, my dear king, that wherever I go, you will go, and wherever you go, I will go. You may have gone deep in the forest and the rest of them may not have followed you, but I would have followed you. We would both have been caught by the king of the dacoits. Then that pujari would have got both of us ready. He would have seen that you lost your thumb, but he would have thought I was complete. And in the end, I would have been sacrificed." It's an amazing story Prabhupada told us, but it has so much meaning in Sharanagati, isn't it? Because it tells us the value of, first, we see the hand of Krishna. A devotee's lenses are very different, very different. A devotee could be in the same place. When you have time, look at 8, 9, 28 of Srimad Bhagavatam. It starts with Evam Sura Asura. That's the verse. 8, 9, 28. In 8, 9, 28, it is so nicely stated. Can anyone find the verse? If you can find the verse, you can read the verse. It's really nice. That's why Bhagavatam has answers to everything. Everything. There's nothing that Bhagavatam cannot answer. Matajis, you're all intently looking at your phones. Have you found it? Can someone read it? 8, 9, 28. Okay, you read it.
But I don't know the meter. I'll just...
No. You read the translation. That's fine.
Translation.
Yeah.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
The place, the time, the cause, the purpose.
Hold on, huh? The place, the time, the cause, and the purpose. 4 things.
The activity.
The activity and the ambition. Yes.
Were all the same for both the demigods and the demons.
Were all the same for both the demigods and the demons.
But the demigods achieved one result and the demons another.
Demigods achieve one result, demons achieve one result. Why? Now Bhagavatam will tell us.
Because the demigods are always under the shelter of the dust of the Lord's lotus feet.
That is Sharanagati. And?
They could very easily drink the nectar and get its result.
Jai. You know why this verse is so important? To give context, this is the verse that comes in the churning of the milk ocean. You remember the Devatas and the Asuras were brought together by Krishna. Krishna told the Devatas, look, go and make a truce with them and together bring Vasuki in the center, take Mount Mandara, put it in the ocean of milk and churn it. As you churn, many things will come out. But the goal of your churning is to get Amrit. As many things come out, let it come out. Let the demons take it, but you keep quiet, the Devatas. You keep churning. At the end of it, when Amrit comes, don't be in a hurry to catch it. Even if the demons catch it, be patient. Wait. And all things will fall in place. The Devatas listened to Krishna and then they started churning with the demons. Now, when they started churning with the demons, they had a big problem because there was no support at the bottom. You remember? And so the whole Mount Mandara fell inside. But because it went inside, the demons didn't care. They had no faith in Krishna. They just looked around and they thought what to do. The Devatas had full faith in Krishna and they started praying to the Lord. As they prayed to the Lord took the beautiful form of Kurma avatar. He became a giant tortoise. You know, Bhagavatam says that the length of Kurma avatar, the length of his shell was 800,000 miles long. It's in Bhagavatam. Huh? See, Bhagavatam is so exact. It can tell you how long or what was the length of the shell of Kurma avatar. You know, you will never get this kind of information anywhere. Just like this morning I said that when Vritasur threw back the mace at Indra, Airavata was thrown back 14 yards. Somebody must have calculated that at that point because it's in Bhagavatam. 800,000 miles, that's Kurma avatar. And so the Lord came up and he started holding Mount Mandara and he had to do the part, he also had to move it. Then he realized that the demons and the Devatas needed more help. So he assumed a 1,000 arm form at the top of the mountain. And from the top he started churning. Then Krishna assumed the form of breeze and light rain. You know, when you get light rain and breeze on yourself on a tired day, you get a bit refreshed, isn't it? So he was trying to refresh the demons and refresh the Devatas because Vasuki was emitting poisonous fumes and it was affecting both of them. And so he came in the form of breeze and rains. And then lastly, Bhagavatam tells us, when all of them became tired, he entered the heart of Vasuki in the mode of ignorance to enliven him, entered the heart of the demons in the mode of passion to enliven them, and entered the hearts of the Devatas in the mode of goodness to enliven them. Now, who was actually churning? Think about it. Who was doing all the work? It's actually Krishna. So many different ways Krishna helped them. You know why? Because of 8:9:28. The demons were there, the Devatas were there. The form, the action, the activity, even the goal, Amrit, was the same. But ultimately, the demons didn't get a drop of Amrit. Even though Dhanvantri came out with the Amrit, the demons jumped on him first and they took it. And the Devatas were thinking, here we are wanting Amrit. But we must remember what Krishna told us. Krishna told us when Amrit comes, if they take it, don't take it. You know how much of self-control you must have when something, just imagine now, Mahaprasad is coming here and you're all told, don't jump. You know how difficult it is to not jump at that. You need to be a sadhu, right? You must go to the cave or somewhere. You must be very renounced. But the Devatas had faith in Krishna. That is the purport of 8, 9, 28. Because they had taken shelter of him. The demons had not taken shelter of him. Those who take shelter of the Lord, they ultimately understand the surrender to the Lord. Shelter and surrender. When you take shelter of someone, you are surrendered to them. When the residents of Vrindavan took shelter of Govardhan Hill, they took shelter of Govardhan Hill because they were surrendered to Krishna. And that's why they could take shelter. Surrender brings shelter, and shelter induces surrender. So this is a very important part of Sharanagati. And that's why in this pastime, the Devatas pulled their brakes and they had faith, Shraddha in Krishna. And then Krishna appeared and said, I'm very happy with you. You have not jumped on Amrit. Otherwise, you and the demons would be no different. No different. You know, one time in Dwarka, Krishna was seated and he was having prasadam. And very nicely, Rukmini Mata was serving him. Suddenly, he stood up and said, I have to go and protect my devotee. And so Rukmini Mata said, okay, go. Suddenly, he sat down and he started eating. Rukmini Mata said, I thought you were supposed to go. Why are you eating now? And Krishna explained, my devotee on earth, he was being chased by a dog. And so at that point of time, the dog was wild and the devotee was remembering me. And I thought I must quickly go and protect the devotee. But then he picked up a brick and he started throwing it at the dog. And when he did that, I thought there's no difference between the dog and the devotee. So I thought better I just sit down and have prasadam. It's a simple illustration, but it tells us that when we have faith in Krishna, Krishna will actually reciprocate. When the Devatas had faith in Krishna, Krishna then took the last form in this Leela. How many forms in this Leela? It's amazing, isn't it? In this Leela, he takes one more form, Mohini Murti. And now he becomes so mesmerizing that the demons who were fighting with each other for the nectar, when they saw Mohini Murti, they all lost their senses. And they said, you are the most beautiful woman, therefore you hold the nectar. You know, Prabhupada writes in the purport, there is no correlation to beauty and holding the nectar. And yet they were so foolish that they said, you take the nectar. That's it. So Mohini Murti took the nectar, and you know what was the end of it? The end of it was, except for Rahu, none of the demons got even a drop of nectar. Mohini Murti timed the prasadam distribution in such a way that that row would never get a single drop of prasadam. Is anyone here that skilled? You know, you do it in such a way that only the Matajis get prasadam and the Prabhus are left with nothing. Krishna could do that. Why? Because of the shelter of the Devatas, the shelter that they took of Krishna. So are we clear on the third limb? Now we spend 10 minutes because the fourth limb very nicely flows from the third limb. If you look at the fourth limb, and the fourth limb Krishna says here is very nice. Let me read to you the fourth limb. The devotee should accept, I'm reading the purport, the devotee should accept Krishna as his supreme maintainer and master. He should not think that he is being protected by a demigod. He should depend only on Krishna, considering him the only protector. The devotee must be firmly convinced that within the three worlds, he has no protector or maintainer other than Krishna. So in this fourth limb, the devotee sincerely believes that Krishna maintains me. You remember yesterday the purport to Narada and Mrigari? Source of income is not the source of maintenance. What a nice point Srila Prabhupada gives us. We may be earning, but who's maintaining us actually? It's Krishna. If tomorrow Krishna decided that you are not going to wake up and that's your final day, that's the end of our time. It's all over. But if Krishna decided that no, he's got 1 week left, then we'll wake up, at least for another week. So actually, our lives are with Krishna. Do you know in the third canto, Kapila Dev tells his mother, he says that when the living entity goes to sleep, he goes to sleep out of his own volition. But to awake, he can only awake by the sanction and the blessings of the Supersoul. If the Supersoul doesn't allow him to wake up, he cannot wake up. In other words, none of us can wake up in the morning until Krishna sanctions it. Every time we go to sleep, we are very convinced our alarm clock is there, right? Everything is ready, and we think we're going to wake up. But we don't realize that Krishna is the transcendental alarm clock. If he doesn't wake us up, it's all over for us. That is the mood of a devotee. The devotee knows that Krishna maintains me. So to maintain means to sustain. That's a very important point. But this is the point where Prabhupada is speaking about Sharanagatihi. Very often, devotees may think that a devata should be the person I should turn to. Because because Indra is taking care of the rains, let us pray to Indra. And so the residents of Vrindavan for a long time were thinking that we should pay homage to Indra. Why? Because without Indra, without rains, we'll have nothing. What did Krishna do? In that pastime, Krishna came and spoke to his father. And he preached so nicely to Nanda Maharaj. And he told Nanda Maharaj that, my dear father, when did you start this ritual? And to whom is it for? And so Nanda Maharaj explained everything. And then Krishna told him that, isn't it better that instead of giving all these wonderful sacrifices and all these wonderful bhoga and offerings that we have, shouldn't this be given to Govardhan? Because Govardhan is actually sustaining us. If you think about it, my dear father, without Govardhan Hill, we will not get fresh water. Because of Govardhan Hill, the rains are coming. Govardhan attracts rains. Govardhan attracts lightnings because it's a high hill. In Govardhan, the food is plenty. Nothing is scarce. All the animals are feeding and being sustained by Govardhan. We are being sustained by Govardhan. The cows and calves are being sustained by Govardhan. So why don't we just do Govardhan Puja? And when that happened, Nanda Maharaj became convinced by his son. And therefore he did a beautiful, elaborate Govardhan Puja. But at the end of it, Indra became very upset. Because Indra thought that he was maintaining Vrindavan. He thought that by his power and by his reigns, Vrindavan Dham and the Vrajavasis, they were actually being maintained. And so he decided to punish Vrindavan and its residents. And so he inundated Vrindavan with so much water. But at that point of time, all the residents ran to Krishna's house. And they said, Krishna, Krishna Mahabaho, because he is the one who is mighty-limbed. And Krishna came out, and Krishna ran to Govardhan Hill, and he picked him up with his little finger on his left hand. And he carried Govardhan Hill for 7 days and 7 nights. And by doing that, he showed Govardhan, he showed the residents of Vrindavan that he is the one who is maintaining them. As they were all under the beautiful shade of Govardhan and Krishna, every one of the residents of Vrindavan had the best time of their lives. The situation appeared unfavorable. The first 2 limbs of Sharanagati. Unfavorable. They were under siege. There was water. They were in difficulty. And yet all the residents took that opportunity of unfavorable nature to make it completely favorable. Why? Because every one of them had 7 days and 7 nights of uninterrupted darshan of Krishna. No curtain closing, no boga arati, no dressing, nothing. Krishna was there 7 days, 7 nights. Open darshan. The boys, they were also happy to see Krishna. The gopis, they were just drinking the form of Krishna into their hearts. All the mothers, including Mother Yashoda, they were so happy to see Krishna. All the fathers, they were there. And they were telling Krishna, Krishna, if you get a bit tired, don't worry, we are there, we can help you. The Gopas also said, Krishna, you are just a boy. If you need some help, we also can help you. But they did not realize that Krishna alone was maintaining them 7 days and 7 nights. How is that possible? And Indra was a devata, but he became completely humbled. Because after 7 days and 7 nights, he realized his reigns meant nothing. And that Krishna was in charge. And this is the point of Sharanagati that's very important. Krishna sent all the residents back, and he put down Govardhan. Then he went to the groves of Vrindavan quietly, And he sat there. And Indra came back humbled. He came with Surabhi. Surabhi did nice abhishek for the Lord. And Indra fell at the lotus feet of the Lord and he offered beautiful prayers. Now, the point here that's really important is what Prabhupada is telling us here. No demigod can be our protector because they are always seeking the protection of the Supreme Lord. Indra ultimately had to seek the protection and the blessings of Krishna. Brahmaji stole the calves and the boys for 1 year, and he thought that he could ridicule Krishna. He thought he was in charge. But after 1 year when he came back, nothing had changed. In fact, if not for anything else, the affection of the residents for the lost calves and the lost boys had increased. And then Brahma realized that the lost boys and calves were manifestations of Krishna. And that also humbled Brahma. So from Shastra, we can realize that even though these personalities are very powerful, right? They may be very powerful like Brahma, but at the end of the day, it is Krishna's intervention that maintains them. That's why Brahmaji has beautiful prayers. Every time the Devatas are in trouble, where do they go? They all go to the ocean of Sweta Dweep. They turn to Brahma. Brahma becomes the main petitioner, and they all petition Krishna. When you have time, look at 6.9.25 of Srimad Bhagavatam. This tells us very nicely the point of the fourth limb. 6.9.25. Ya eka isho nijamaya yanaha sasarjayena anusjama vishwam vayam nayasyapi puraha samihitaha pasyamalingam pritak ishamaninaha. Pritak ishamaninaha is very important. The Devatas are singing this prayer in the 6th canto, 9th chapter. They are praying because Vritasur has come now. And they are very afraid and they are praying to Krishna. What they say here confirms the fourth limb of Sharanagati. They say the Supreme Personality of Godhead, He is the one who has created us by His external potency. By His mercy, we can expand the creation of the universe. And because of Him being in our hearts as Super Soul, we are able to do all this. But then they say very nicely, even despite all this, we cannot see His form. Why? Pashyamalingam pritak ishamaninaha. They say we are unable to see Him because all of us think we are separate and independent gods. That is the barrier for our surrender. When we think we are independent and we think that we are separate. We are all part and parcel of Krishna. And Krishna is the person who's ultimately maintaining us. There are so many examples in this material world where devotees may not have had so much Lakshmi. They may have been put in difficulty, but they were maintained by Krishna somehow. Somehow. Through the agency of other devotees, through the agency of the Lord, somehow or another devotees maintain themselves. Jai Shri Shri Gaunitai Ki. And therefore we end now the fourth limb of Sharanagati, which leaves us only with the last two, self-surrender and humility. So we will do that, Shamkun Prabhu, at 5 o'clock, right? So what happens now, Prabhu? Arati, right? So have your Arati, contemplate on this point of Sharanagati, and at 5 o'clock, if you have stamina still, thank you for being patient, sit here and we will finish off our time together on Sharanagati. These two are very important, self-surrender and humility. Hare Krishna. I think they will need this.
वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्तिप्रदे देवी सक्तवतये नमो नमः। वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्तिप्रदे देवी सक्तवतये नमो नमः। वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्तिप्रदे देवी सक्तवतये नमो नमः। तुलसी महारानी की जय। नमो नमः। तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नमो नमः। राधा कृष्णा सेवा पावो अभिलाषी। नमो नमः। तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नमो नमः। ये तुम्हारा शरण लो तारा वंश पूर्ण हो। कृपा कोरी कोरो तारे वृंदावन वासी। नमो नमः। तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नमो नमः। मोरा अभिलाष विलास कुंज दियो वास। नयने हरिवो सदा युगल रूप राशि। Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Namaha Nivedanadhara Sakhiranugata koro Sevadikara diye Koro nijadasi Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Namaha बिना कृष्णा दासे कोई ये जना मुरा होय श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेम सदा ये न भासी Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Namaha Yani Kani Chapapani Brahmadyadikani cha Tani Tani Pranashanti Pradakshina Pade Pade Yani Kani cha papani Pramadyadikani cha Tani Tani Pranashanti Pradakshina Pade Pade Yani Kani Chapapani Brahmadyadikani cha Tani Tani Pranashanti Pradakshina Pade Pade Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani. Jaya Vrinde Devi, Jaya Vrinde Devi, Jaya Vrinde Devi, Jaya Vrinde Devi. Vrindaya Tulsi Devyai Priyai Keshivasicha Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Saktavatai Namo Namaha. Vrindaya Tulsi Devyai Priyai Keshivasicha Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Saktavatai Namo Namaha. Vrindaya Tulsi Devyai Priyai Keshivasicha Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Saktavatai Namo Namaha. Tulsi Maharani ki jai, Vrinde Devi ki jai. O Tulsi, beloved of Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire is to obtain the service of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you has his wishes fulfilled. Bestowing your mercy on him, you make him a resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you will also grant me a residence in the pleasure groves of Sri Vrindavan Dham. Thus, within my vision, I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Sri Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of the cowherd damsels of Vraja. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maidservant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna prays. May I always swim in the love of Sri Radha and Govinda. Tulsi Maharani ki jai.
Do you pinch your hand?
No.
You can read the translation.
Sure. Translation. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From his ecstatic prema emanates, by him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and the master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto me. Give me the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet. You are the friend of the most fallen. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Gurudev. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. 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 Bandhamui Savadhana Mate. Bandhamui Savadhana Mate. Jahare prasade bhai ye bhavathoriya jai. Jahara prasade bhai ye bhavathoriya jai. Jahara prasade bhai ye bhavathoriya jai. Jahara prasade bhai ye bhavathoriya jai. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoyte. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoyte. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoyte. Prapti hoy jaha hoyte. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitate Koriya Kya. 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 Arna kori ho mane asha. 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 Shri Guru Charane Rati Ye se uttama gati. Shri Guru Charane Rati Ye se uttama gati. Shri Guru Charane Rati Ye se uttama gati. Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise uttama gati. Jai prasade pure sarva asha. Jai prasade pure sarva asha. Jai prasade pure sarva asha. प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा चक्षुधान जिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से चक्षुदान जिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो प्रेम भक्ति जहा होते आविदा विनाश जाते भक्ति जहा होते आविदा विनाश प्रेम भक्ति जहा होते आविदा विनाश जाते वेद गाय जहर चरितो वेद गाय जहर चरितो श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अहम जनर बंधु सिंधु अहम जनर बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अहम जनर बंधु जनर बंधु लोकनाथ लोकेर जीवाना लोकनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना आहा प्रभु कोरो दयो देहो मोरे पाद छायो मोरे पाद छाया आहा प्रभु कोरो दयो देहो मोरे पाद छाया ये बेजाल गुशक त्रिभुवाना ये बेजाश गुशक त्रिभुवाना श्रीला प्रभुपाद पतित पवना श्रीला गुरुदेव लोइलो शरणो लोइलो शरण जयो प्रभुपादा जयो प्रभुपादा जयो प्रभुपादा जयो प्रभुपादा जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद नमः ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पास्तश देश तारिणे सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी आकाशादेशकारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ताय जयो गौरनिताय जयो गौरनिताय जयो गौरनिताय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय राम लक्ष्मण भक्त हनुमान
सीताराम लक्ष्मण भक्त हनुमान जय श्रीनाथ जी जय गोपाल जी जय श्रीनाथ जी जय गोपाल जी जय
श्रीनाथ जी जय गोपाल जी
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय कि जयो जयो गोरा चांदेर आरती कशोभा कि जयो जयो कि जयो गोरा चांदेर आरती कशोभा कि बजायो आरती कश Come in the front. जानवी तटवने जगमान लोभा गौरांगेरारतिक शोभा जग जन मन लोभा गौरांगेरारतिक शोभा जग जन मन लोभा जग जन मन लोभा जन जग जन मन लोभा जय गौरनिताय 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 जय गौरनिताय निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल गौरा हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल दक्षिण निताय चांद वामे गदाधर किम रखे निकटे अद्वैत श्रीनि वास छत्रधर निकटे किवो वशी याचे गौराचान रत्न सिंहासने किवो वशी याचे आरती कोरे न ब्रह्मा आदिदेव गाये आरती इव नर हरि आदि कोरी चामर ढुलाया संजय मुकुंद बासु घोष आदि गाया किव शंख बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताल किव शंख ओ मधुरा मृदंग बाजे परम रसाल मधुरा शंख बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे 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 हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल गौरा हरि बोल निताय गौरा निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल गौरा हरि बोल निताय गौरा बहु कोटि चंद्र जिनी बदना उज्ज्वला गलदेश वनमाला करे झालमाला शिव शिव शुकनारदा प्रेमे गद गद भक्ति विनोद देखे गौरार संपद भक्ति नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमद् भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमः नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरा भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरा भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Sitaram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman, Sitaram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman. Jaya Srinath Ji, Jaya Gopal Ji, Jaya Srinath Ji, Jaya Gopal Ji. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन धाम की जय। व्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की, नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की, गंगा माई की, जमुना माई की, भक्ति देवी की जय। श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी की, कलियुग पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की, बृहद मृदंग ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय। शुभ अक्षय तृतीया महामहोत्सव की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Shri Prabhupada ki.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Pralada Lada Daine. Hiranyakasipurvaksaha. Silatanka nakalaye. Ito narsimho parato narsimho. Yato yato yami tato narsimho. Bahe narsimho hridaye narsimho. Narasimhamadim sharanam prapadye. Tava kara kamalavare nakam adbhuta shringam dalita hiranyakashipu tanubringham Keshavadita narahari rupa Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Nakam Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Anubringham Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Narsimhadev Jaya Narsimhadev Jaya Narsimhadev Jaya Narsimhadev Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. नरसिम्हदेव भगवान की
Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to ISKCON of New Jersey. Anyone visiting here for the first time? No? Okay. Sunday feast sponsor. So usually we do have a Sunday feast sponsor, and our sponsorship is $351. You can sponsor for any occasion. Today we do not have any sponsor. So in case anyone would like to sponsor today's feast, please let us know. Prabhuji, okay. Srinivas Prabhu will do. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Please come. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Day at Gaur Nitai sponsor. After a very long time, I'm seeing this slide blank. No birthdays in last week. Looks like. Okay, so Sunday flower sponsorship. These beautiful flowers are sponsored to the deities on Sundays. It's $151 for Sundays and $125 on weekdays. So again, we do not have any sponsor for today. If someone is interested, they can raise their hand and we can take the details. Mataji will do? Okay. Mataji forgot to initiate. Shameshri Mataji. Shameshri Mataji, thank you so much, Mataji. Prashad. Thank you, Mataji. Very good. All right. Yes. There's an ongoing event. I know I would be introducing the speaker again once we are done with all the slides. But yes, there's a very interesting ongoing event. 2 days seminar by His Grace Devakinandan Prabhuji. So those who were very fortunate, they attended yesterday's and this afternoon session. And the third one, we all are fortunate to do it in some time, just 10 minutes or so, Prabhuji. Upcoming events, Sita Navami celebration, appearance day of Srimati Sita Devi. She is looking very beautiful today, and I was wondering if she is looking this beautiful today, then how they are going to dress her up on Sita Navami day. So let's see. I can't wait to see her. Okay, Saturday 25th. It's on Saturday. Please mark your calendar. It's on Saturday, April 25th, the actual day of Sita Navami. And the celebration will start at 6 p.m. There'll be Kirtan, special Sita Navami class, Aarti, and then Prashadam. So please do not miss. And then afterwards, there is one more. I don't know, somehow it's not updated. Okay, somehow it is not updated. I mean, it's updated, but I updated 5 minutes back. Can you refresh it? I got it 7 minutes back, so I updated 5 minutes back. We cannot, but that's fine. So I can announce in between. There is something in between. Prabhu, can you go back to this, the previous one? Okay, so Sita Navami, actual day is April 25th, Saturday. But on Sunday, we have a very special program by the kids. So there is going to be a very beautiful Sita Navami special Ramayan musical by all the kids. And it's very beautiful. And there are lots and lots of kids practicing very hard for it. So we can't wait for that. Please do join. That will be during this time only. I think the program starts at 5:15. The musical will start around this time, around the Sunday feast class time. So do join that. And we will be sharing the flyer very soon in the congregation group. All right, and afterwards, upcoming event, this is once in a year, our main Narsimha Yagya. That would be on Sunday, May 3rd, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. There are two categories of sponsorship available. One is Mukhya Yajman for $1,001 and another one is Yajman for $501. Today is very auspicious day of Akshaya Tritiya and lots of people are coming forward and sponsoring it today. So anyone would like to do it today, please let us know. For the Mukhya Yajman, we do have a very special gift I would like to show. I'll try to show with one hand, but it's very heavy. Prabhu, I'll need your help. Okay, this is a very nice book, Narsimha, the God of Yoga, by Dhruv Prabhu. So I think it's amazing. It's from all over the world. Lots of very nice Narsimhaji's deities from different temples, different countries, different continents. So it's an amazing book. So it's a special token of appreciation from us when you join it as a Mukhya Yajman. All right, so let us know if anybody would like to sponsor. Okay. All right. So for license plate registration, okay. So I think everyone, because I don't see any new hand raised, so everybody should already know. If your cars are not registered here, just go ahead and scan this QR code, and that it will take you to the system. You just have to fill up quickly about enter details about your cars. That will help us save your time when your car is stuck or somebody else's car is stuck. Then we can find the owner very easily and help you out. All right, your feedback is very important to us. So if you have anything nice to say or if you have any suggestions for improvement, go ahead and scan this QR code. The survey is very short and anonymous. And before we go to our prayer, actually there is one more very quick announcement. Oh, yeah. So that will be something would be there. Okay, so those details will be shared soon in the events. I think we will do that. We have not yet shared. So on April 30th is the actual Narsimha Chaturdashi, and we do celebrate at the temple. So we will be sharing the details soon. I think we do have a weekend in between, but please mark your calendar that April 30th is it's a weekday, and May 3rd is the Narsimha Yagya. So I'll call Nandan Acharya Prabhu because we have a special announcement about new temple resident devotees. Thank you, Prabhu.
Sorry. Hare Krishna, everyone. Haribo. So just want to announce we have new resident devotees joining us here. So Murali Krishna Prabhu and his wife, Payaswani Mataji. Are they here? Okay. So Payaswani Mataji, Murali Krishna Prabhu. So Prabhuji is coming, Mataji are coming here from New Vrindavan. They've been serving there for some time, and before that Prabhuji was serving in different temples around the world. He's including ISKCON. Sorry, Mataji is from Nepal, and Prabhuji. So please welcome them when you see them around the temple. And so Prabhuji will be helping serve as, in the fundraising area amongst other areas. Mataji will be helping in the capacity of Pujari. So if you see them around, please introduce yourself and welcome them. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Big Haribol to our new temple residents. Haribol. Okay, so yes, prayer for our new temple, ISKCON of Pasipani. Please repeat after me, close your eyes, pray to Lord Shri Krishna on this special day as he gave his blessings to Sudamaji. Please give us your blessings and please help this temple manifest very soon. Okay, so please repeat after me the prayer. Our dear Lord Krishna, kindly give us your causeless mercy and allow us to become instruments in the service of Srila Prabhupada. Let us follow in his footsteps to grow the movement and build this new temple in your service. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. Housekeeping items, please make sure your phones are on silent mode. Do not block any door. That's a fire safety hazard. Please maintain silence. And if you have any restless kid, take them outside. If they want to say hi or anything, they learn new words, that's fine. We can teach them Haribol. Okay, so moving on to class speaker. As I just mentioned, His Grace Devakinandan Prabhuji. I'll just give a brief introduction. All right. His Grace Devakinandan Prabhuji. He's a senior disciple of His Holiness Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj. He's a vice chairman of ISKCON and a GBC member overseeing legal affairs. Based in Singapore, he's a practicing lawyer and an inspiring preacher of Srimad Bhagavatam. Through his heartfelt kirtans and classes, he has inspired many worldwide to take up Krishna consciousness. So please welcome him with 3 loud Haribol. Haribol! 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 Yeah, I'll take it.
because this is no.
I'll do. I'll make one. Yeah. Yeah. This is better. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you. And we welcome everyone for the Sunday feast. I was just thinking that last prayer, Mataji, that you did, where we all prayed very hard. And it's so interesting that today is such an auspicious day. It's the day when Sudama actually met the Lord. If you are in Dwarka today, you will have to cross Dwarka to go over to Bet Dwarka. And there you will see the palace of Krishna. And there Krishna is known as Dwarkanath. In Dwarka itself, in the mainland, he is known as Dwarkadish, right? And if you walk to that temple, which is not a temple, Dwarkanath, the Lord there, that's actually Krishna's palace. And you will see the spot where Krishna actually placed Sudama on a throne, literally. He washed his feet. And before that, Sudama would sit on the bedstead of Krishna, as it is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th chapter. And there also, Sudama's feet would be washed by Krishna. And what's really interesting is that when Sudama left Dwarka, he left with nothing actually. Nothing. And that's a very important point. And in Bhagavatam, as he walks away, I think the verse is 1081:16. 1081:16. In that verse, Sudama, as he's walking away, there is no resentment in his heart. There is no feeling of, I stayed for 2 days with Krishna, and not once did Krishna ask me why I'd come. Even though I had come because I was in so much difficulty, because my wife had told me that we had no money left and we had no food for the children. Krishna knows everyone's heart because he's in the heart of everyone as the super soul. And yet, even though he was in my heart, he did not even once ask me why, have you come? In fact, on the day when Sudama was leaving, Krishna just sent him off and he was just very happy. Most of us in Sudama's shoes would be thinking that Krishna knows our heart, and yet he did not ask us what we needed, because it was so obvious that Sudama was in such a state of poverty. In fact, Bhagavatam tells us he was in such a state of poverty that he and his wife could not even give anything for Krishna. The flat rice, the chipped rice that they had gotten was gotten from a neighbor. It was not even theirs to give actually. Which is why Krishna was put in a difficult situation. Because while Sudama did not have anything, and still he managed to get something out of which he had no possession, Krishna could not do the same. Because for Krishna, everything is under his possession. He could not match the generosity of Sudama, even though he possessed everything in this world. It's the supreme irony of it, isn't it? And so Krishna felt so humbled. And this humility is the last limb of Sharanagatihi that we are doing. Krishna felt so humble that Bhagavatam says, like a thunder cloud that comes in the night, pours rain over barren land and then leaves. In that way, Krishna came over to Porbandar, where he was situated in, and instead of just passing by, Krishna constructed a palace, and he gave untold wealth to his wife, Sudama's wife, and the children. But Sudama had no idea, because he did not know that this is what Krishna did. So as he left Dwarka to walk back to Porbandar, how many of you have been to Dwarka? Very nice. And how many of you are from Porbandar, for example? That's interesting. If you walk from Porbandar to Dwarka, you'll realize it's not a short walk. It's not a short walk at all. So as Sudama was going back, he was just thinking in his heart this very important thing. He thought, Kwaham daridra papiyan, Kwa Krishna Sriniketanaha. He says so nicely, who am I? I am a sinful, poor friend of a Brahmana. He does not even call himself a Brahmana. In Bhagavatam, if you're a Brahmana, you're considered a Brahmana. But if you call yourself a friend of a Brahmana, then you're known as Brahmana Bandhu. Right? So he had the humility not even to consider himself as a Brahmana. And then he says, who am I? I'm a sinful friend of a Brahmana. And who is Krishna? Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's complete in his opulences. That is why he's known as Sriniketanaha. And he says, despite being what I am, Krishna still embraced me with his open arms. So Sudama did not ask anything from Krishna. And that is why Sudama is considered to be one of the great personalities in Sharanagatihi. In the last two sessions and the session that we just ended just now, we spoke about the third and the fourth limb. The third and the fourth limb of Sharanagatihi. Now, some of you may not have been there, but just maybe for your benefit, the last 2 days we have been speaking about the concept of surrender to Krishna. Now, the concept of surrender to Krishna is synonymous with devotional service. Because the more we surrender to Krishna, the more Krishna reciprocates. Ye yata mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajami aham. 4:11 of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, to the extent that those surrender to me, to the extent of their surrender, I will reciprocate with them. So Krishna is very personal. That's why he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's very personal. But when we surrender to him, based on the level of surrender, to that extent, he will also reciprocate. Sometimes people think that's not being very fair. Some people say God should be equal to everyone. It is actually true, because Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita that samoham sarva bhuteshu, that he is actually equal to everyone. He is equal in the sense that you are getting oxygen. Those who don't believe in Krishna, they are also getting oxygen. In fact, those who don't believe in Krishna could be better off than the devotees. Their bank balances could be much more than you and I. So it is not that Krishna does not maintain them also. Krishna gives them oxygen, he gives them a roof over their heads, he gives them many things that he wants. But the only thing that he doesn't give them is himself. Because when he gives himself to them, then he is also surrendered to them. He only does that with the devotees. So that is why when we take up the process of Sharanagatihi, it is actually a process. It is not a one-day affair to surrender to Krishna. And some days we will be more surrendered, but some days we will be less surrendered. Maybe a calamity will hit us. At that point of time, we may lose a little faith in Krishna. But it doesn't mean that we have lost Krishna. Krishna is never lost to us. Very often we are lost to him, because we are the ones who walk away from him. But Krishna never walks away from us. So the first two limbs of Sharanagatihi is to accept whatever that is favorable for us to remember Krishna and worship him. And in the same way, when you do that, you automatically renounce or you reject that which is not favorable. For example, all of you are gathered here to take darshan of the beautiful deities, to hear about Krishna, and to partake in sadhu sangha with each other. All of that is actually the first limb of Krishna consciousness in terms of Sharanagati. You have accepted all these activities because these activities actually make a tangible impact on your spiritual life. That's why you keep coming back. Because this is the place where you find peace, happiness, bliss, and you know that there is something in this atmosphere which is transcendental, and that is Krishna. But by doing that, you have sacrificed your time, your energy, and your resources. And you could be somewhere else on a Sunday, like many others, but you have decided to be here. That pleases Krishna very much. So therefore, the devotees of the Lord, they are ready to accept even an unfavorable situation if that means that they can remember Krishna better. Many times devotees in Bhagavatam were put in unfavorable situations. Gajendra, the elephant, he was put in the most unfavorable situation because he was caught by the jaws of the crocodile for 1,000 years. Not one day, not 2 days, for 1,000 years. Gajendra came through the Trikuta mountains to the lake, thinking that he was the king of the elephants and he was unparalleled in power. He was intoxicated with pride. He had his wives, he had his children, he had his generals, they were all elephants, they were all with him. And he went into the lake, not even caring that others were in the lake. When the crocodile caught him, Gajendra was really in difficulty. Bhagavatam tells us that he realized that he was circumstantially helpless. He also realized that while the generals were trying to save him, they were pulling him, but the jaws of the crocodile were stronger, and the generals gave up. And the generals said, "We followed you, Gajendra, because you are the greatest. That's why you're Gajendra, king of the elephants. But if you cannot come out of the clutches of the crocodiles, then why are we following you? There's nowhere to follow because you're not moving anyway. You're stuck. So we better go." Then the wives, they were also very strong she-elephants. They came forward and they said, "Let us try to get our husband out of the difficulty." And they tried very hard. But despite all their attempts, they could not pull him. And so they told Gajendra that we are all with you because you are a powerful husband. And we think that we are under your protection. But now you are stuck here. You cannot protect us. So we are going to leave. And when they left, the children also left with them. And Gajendra, who came down from the mountains with a whole entourage of elephants, was left with nothing. It was a real unfavorable situation. But despite it being an unfavorable situation, Gajendra's consciousness turned it into something favorable. He decided that who can protect me now? Nobody can protect me. The only person capable of protecting me is the one who is the shelter of all shelters. And how does he describe him in the 8th canto of Bhagavatam? Param Parayanam. Param Parayanam. So Gajendra describes the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the shelter of all shelters. And then he begins his prayers. The beauty is, if you read Gajendra's prayers, there is not one point in the shlokas where Krishna's name is actually specifically mentioned. Gajendra describes the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he never names him. At the end of all his prayers, he's in difficulty still. But no Devata comes. Because none of the Devatas could touch their hearts and say that the prayers he had chanted, they were worthy of those prayers. The only person worthy of those prayers, who could give protection, who could give shelter, and to whom Gajendra was accepting, that person was Vishnu, Lord Krishna. And so he came on Garuda. And when he came and he swooped down, Gajendra did something very wonderful. In a very unfavorable situation, Gajendra picked up a lotus flower that grows in the muddy swamps of the lake, and he held it up as an offer of prayer and devotion to Krishna. It's a beautiful prayer, and it was a beautiful painting. You must have seen it. And it tells us what Gajendra did shows us the entire nature of a devotee who takes up the process of Sharanagatihi. In Sharanagatihi, we accept that which is unfavorable if it makes us remember Krishna. We reject that which is favorable materially but doesn't help us to remember Krishna. Gajendra did that. Then Gajendra did the 3rd and the 4th limb of Sharanagatihi. Gajendra understood through experience that only Krishna can maintain him and only Krishna can protect him. That's all he could understand. And when he realized that instead of depending on so many other people, like we all do in our lives, when we are young, we depend on someone. When we are older, we depend on someone else. Very often in our life, we are always dependent on someone. Gajendra was trying to be dependent on everyone. But in the end, he realized that none of them, no fault of theirs, they just couldn't help him because they were not competent enough to help him. And that's the 4th limb of Sharanagatihi. That we understand that the devotee fully depends on Krishna because the devotee knows that Krishna is his maintainer and Krishna is his guardian. You know, the word guardian is very interesting. Guardian is derived from the word one who guards, someone guarding you. So a guardian is someone who always protects you from all corners. And Gajendra realized that nobody in this world could protect him. Only Krishna could. And therefore, he surrendered. And today, the fifth and the sixth limb of Sharanagatihi, the last two limbs, are very important. They are self-surrender and humility. Self-surrender and humility. Self-surrender means that whatever activities that we performed, we understand first of all that these activities that we are doing, we may be doing them, but ultimately we are instruments in the hands of Krishna. In 11:33 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, Mayai vaite nihata purva evam nimitra matra bhavya savya sachi. He says that everyone here on this battlefield will die by my arrangement. But even then you must fight. Why? Because you must become an instrument in my hands. So when we are ready to surrender to Krishna, that surrender is the surrender of ourself. That's why the fifth limb is considered to be self-surrender. You can surrender your bank balance, surrender your car, you can surrender anything to Krishna. But that is not part of Sharanagatihi. The real surrender is when you surrender yourself. In other words, your identity as the servant of the servant of the servant. You surrender that to Krishna. Otherwise, we will think that we are the lords of everything that we have. And the best person to show us this was actually Gajendra. Because Gajendra was put in such a situation that he was forced to surrender. Krishna cornered him in such a situation that he had no choice but to surrender. That is also Krishna's mercy. Sometimes, I'm sure by our experience, we have been put in situations where we didn't want to surrender to Krishna. We thought, never mind, I've got this figured out. And in the end, the situation becomes so difficult that we have no choice. We have to come before the deities and we have to surrender to the deities. Because we were thinking of one thing, but Krishna wants something else. So this is a very important point. When we surrender, the highest surrender is ourself. And what is ourself? The challenge of surrendering ourself is our false ego. That is the big challenge. Gajendra's false ego was, he thought he could handle the crocodile. Then when he could not, he thought, my generals will handle the crocodile. Then he thought, my wives will handle the crocodile. Then he thought, nobody will leave me. But eventually everyone left and no one could handle the crocodile. So then he started praying. And when he prayed, he surrendered his false ego. And he surrendered it at the lotus feet of Krishna. And when Krishna came on the back of Garuda, as he came, very quickly the Lord used Sudarshan Chakra. And he cut off the head of the crocodile. And we come to realize that the crocodile was no ordinary crocodile. It was a very powerful, right, and very pious, at least in previous life, Gandharva, elevated personality. He was a king. What was his name? What a name to have, huh? Hoo, right? Yeah, it's a very interesting name. King Hoo, right? You'll find in Bhagavatam, we have some interesting names. You have Hoo, and then you have these poisons, The poisons sound very poisonous. Hala. That really sounds poisonous, isn't it? So this great king was a great personality. He was almost like a demigod. But because of his past offenses, he had been cursed to become a crocodile. But the beauty is, because the crocodile was holding on to the lotus feet of Gajendra, who transformed his consciousness from that of a materialist to a devotee over a course of 1,000 years, King Hoo actually benefited. He was not meant to, he wasn't exactly holding on to the feet of the devotee with love or reverence. He actually wanted to eat him for dinner or lunch or whatever. But then Krishna is so kind that even if you take the shelter of a devotee, it is as good as taking shelter of the Lord. This is the part of Sharanagatihi that many of us miss. Sharanagatihi is not only for Krishna, but it becomes very sweet when we do it in conjunction with his devotees. That is a very important principle that we should never forget. In Sadhu Sangha, Sharanagatihi is a very sweet process because we help each other to surrender to Krishna. And we surrender to each other by serving each other also. You see the point? So Sharanagatihi never excludes the devotees. It always includes the devotees. King Huhu actually became purified and he became liberated by Sudarshan Chakra before even Gajendra was liberated. That is the advantage when we hold on tightly to the lotus feet of the Lord or to his devotees. It's a very important point. You know Dhritarashtra, right? Dhritarashtra. The name means one who holds on very tightly, not to Krishna, but to property and land. So Dhritarashtra's name is very, very apt for him, right? Because not only was he physically blind, but he was spiritually bankrupt and blind also. He had no understanding that all the properties he wanted to hold, he would never be able to hold. That's why he is known as Dhritarashtra. But a devotee is known as Dhrita Hari, one who holds on very tightly to the lotus feet of Hari. And the interesting thing here is King Huhu held on very tightly to the lotus feet of a devotee, Gajendra. But by holding on to the devotee, he attained liberation. So Sharanagatihi is actually the act of surrender. The more we are prepared to surrender, the closer we come to Krishna. But Krishna is so kind sometimes that he forces us to surrender. And when he does that, sometimes, as Srila Prabhupada stated in Lilamrita, when a devotee is put in the most difficult of difficulties, everything is taken away from him. Isn't it true? Everything is taken away from him. And that was what happened to Gajendra. But eventually Gajendra, because of his surrender, he became liberated because Krishna became pleased with him. Another great example of self-surrender, actually the devotee who holds the flag for self-surrender is Bali Maharaj, right? Whenever you hear about the greatness of self-surrender, no one takes the place as aptly as Bali Maharaj. Bhagavatam tells us that Bali Maharaj was actually the son of a very exalted devotee. Who was Bali Maharaj's father? Virochana. And Virochana's father? Prahlad Maharaj. In other words, Bali Maharaj's grandfather was none other than the great Prahlad Maharaj. Imagine coming in the lineage of a devotee like that. And yet, Bali Maharaj became riddled with pride and prestige because his sadhu sangha was absent. As he grew up, Bhagavatam says, he spent more time with the demonic friends of his who were actually inimical to Krishna. So even though he was born with the stock of devotional service, because of a lack of association, he lost touch with Krishna. This can happen to us also if we are not careful in our process of surrender. Another great example in Bhagavatam is Bhaumasura. You all know Bhaumasura? Sometimes he's known as Narakasura also, right? And Bhaumasura or Narakasura, he was a very powerful demon, but his lineage was amazing. His mother was Bhumi Devi and his father was Varaha. It doesn't get better than that. Okay? You don't get a stock like that. Mother Bhumi Devi and father Lord Varaha. And Prabhupada writes in Krishna book that someone coming from such an exalted lineage should be the first class devotee. But unfortunately, Prabhupada writes, because of a lack of good association, Bhaumasura forgot his true nature and he embraced the demonic nature. So Bali Maharaj was in that situation. And Bhagavatam tells us that because of that, he became very proud, but he also became very strong. And at one point when time was favorable for him, he and all the demons conquered Swargaloka. And all the demigods were forced to leave. And they would come to Krishna through Brahma and they would pray. And Krishna would then say that I will come as the great incarnation of Vamandev. And I will then deliver this entire Swargaloka and everything that Bali Maharaj has. I will deliver it back to the devotees. I will leave him with nothing. Nothing. And so Vamandev came into this world as a little dwarf boy. And then he proceeded to the yajna, the scene of the fire sacrifice that Bali Maharaj was doing. Now Bali Maharaj had a guru, Sukracharya. And Sukracharya was very, very powerful because he possessed great siddhi. And because of his great siddhi, he was able to actually make the asuras very powerful. Even more powerful than the demons sometimes. From the devas. So what happened was, Bali Maharaj conquered the 3 worlds and the devatas were in trouble. And when he was going to perform a fire sacrifice, coming from the south was a beautiful Brahmana, so effulgent and very young. So Bali Maharaj, even though he was a demon, don't forget, he had the stock of devotional service somewhere in the heart. Because Krishna declares in Sastras, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema. Every one of us, we all have dormant love for God. Everyone, without exception. The only question is whether we revive it in this life or we continue not to have it. But it's there. And so Bali Maharaj's love for God was also present. So when this Brahmana came, Bali Maharaj felt it was very auspicious. And he told this little Brahmana boy, ask me for anything that you want and I will give it. Vamandev said, give me 3 paces of land which is measured by my little tiny feet. He was very small. Not size 10, size 12, very, very small. So Bali Maharaj started laughing. He said, my dear Brahmana, you're not very intelligent. If you're really intelligent, you would ask for much more. I can give you villages upon villages. I can give you calves and bulls. I can give you so much of jewelry. I can give you wives and I can give you servants to the wives. I can give you so much. And you're asking for 3 paces of land with your little tiny feet. So Bali was obviously very proud of what he had. There was no self-surrender at all in him. But Bali Maharaj, then Vamandev said something very nice in the 8th canto. He said, my dear king, if I'm not satisfied with what little I can keep for myself, I will never be satisfied with the entirety of all the continents that you give me. Very powerful point, isn't it? The truth of the matter is, if we want to attain the point of Sharanagatihi, we must learn to actually become self-satisfied. Self-satisfaction is the cousin to self-surrender. Both have self. But self-satisfaction means that whatever that is coming, we accept it as the quota Krishna has given us. We are peaceful. We may try for something more, but if it doesn't come because of our endeavor, then whatever that is with us, we accept it as what Krishna has given. We become self-satisfied. And this is what Vamandev taught Bali Maharaj. And Bali Maharaj said, all right, since you are saying that's what you want, I will give you 3 steps of land, but it will be very little. He took his achaman, he did achaman, he took his kamandalu, he was prepared to now wash the lotus feet of Vamandev with his wife, and he did that, and then Sukracharya told him, stop. Are you out of your mind? Which fool comes asking for 3 paces of land with such small feet? This is not an ordinary Brahmana. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, your prime enemy. He has come to take everything away from you. And what did Bali Maharaj reply? He said, even if he takes everything away from me, I will not deviate from my vow. The process of self-surrender had started. You see the progression? It had started because he was determined to keep his vow to the Supreme Lord. And that's how the process of surrender began. Now Sukracharya was very worried. Not because he loved Bali Maharaj, but if Bali Maharaj had no money, Sukracharya's pockets become empty. He's out of business, right? He's the family guru. He's paid something, nice house is there, everything is there. If Bali is on the street, he will be in the ditch. So Sukracharya was not actually giving good advice. He was not. And so Bali Maharaj decided, I will not hear you. Instead of, because what you're saying is against the Vedic principles. I will go ahead. Even if this is Vishnu, my prime arch enemy, and even if he takes everything that I own today, I will still not deviate from my vow. This is known as Dhrida Vrataha. This is the vow of determination. When a devotee or a living entity is determined to somehow or another fulfill his promise or serve the Lord in any which way, the process of self-surrender, surrender of our ego, surrender of our time, surrender of our energy, it begins. And so Sukracharya cursed Bali Maharaj. He said, because you have done this, you will lose everything. Actually, it was silly. By cursing him, he cursed himself also. Because he also will not have anything, isn't it? If you go bankrupt, I'll go bankrupt. But he was so upset, you see, that he cursed him. But for a devotee, a curse that appears to be a curse actually becomes a blessing. Parikshit Maharaj was cursed to die in 7 days. But that curse turned out to be a blessing. Because in 7 days he surrendered himself to the lotus feet of Krishna in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. And in that way, he accepted that which appeared unfavorable and renounced that which appeared to be favorable. He accepted that Krishna is my master and he is maintaining me. I will give up my kingdom now because he will maintain my kingdom also. He then surrendered himself at the lotus feet of Shukadev Goswami, and for 7 days and 7 nights he heard Bhagavatam. And because he did that, he heard it with full humility, which is the last limb that we will speak about. So you see, Parikshit Maharaj is so much more fortunate than you and I, because at least he knew how much time he had before he would leave the world. I don't think most of us right now know exactly when we are going to leave, right? And even if we knew, I don't know what we will do with it. Hopefully we will spend time with Krishna, or we may start thinking, oh, I've got some bank balance here, I've got some property to sell there. And by the time we finish everything, instead of seeing Krishna, Yamaraj will come knocking on the door. Right? So that's our problem. So Bali Maharaj did something amazing. He decided finally that he will go ahead. And the moment he did that, Vamandev began to grow and grow and grow and grow. And Sukracharya thought, I told you so. But Bali Maharaj stood there and he saw the opulence of the Lord. With 1 foot, he covered the lower planets. With his body, he covered the higher the middle planets as well. With his next foot, he covered the higher planets, the lower middle planets, and then the higher planets. Bhagavatam tells us, as his toe touched the top, it pierced the coverings of the material universe. And Ganga Devi started flowing into this world. But at that point of time, Bali Maharaj realized that the promise he had made, which was based on so much of pride and confidence that he could fulfill it because he had so much, could not be fulfilled. And Vamandev took him to task. Vasuki tied up and bound very tightly Bali Maharaj. He was dragged like a prisoner, Bhagavatam says, to be in front of Vamandev. Bhagavatam says that even though Bali had lost his luster as a king, he was determined in his vow not to back off. Very important point. He was determined, but now he was also morose because he realized that he was humbled. The process of self-surrender will bring the last limb. When we surrender to Krishna with ourself, then humility will come. It will either come naturally or Krishna will induce it by creating this situation that he did for Bali Maharaj. So actually Krishna is a well-wisher. But sometimes if we are errant children, then he has to drag us, isn't it? Say, supposing you are coming to the temple and the children say, no, I don't want to come. Somehow or another you will bundle them in the car and bring them, isn't it? Somehow you'll do that. Or you bribe them, tell them you come here, there'll be nice prasadam. I know of parents who have been giving children $10 in Singapore so that they can come on Saturday. That's the ultimate bribe. But after a while when the children come, they are very happy, they are very peaceful. What looks like an unfavorable situation becomes very favorable. So as devotees, we must be prepared for the difficulties to come. But for the devotee, a difficulty is not a difficulty. It is a moment of testing how we surrender ourselves to Krishna. That is the key for Sharanagati. And so Bali Maharaj was caught and he was humiliated. Because Vamandev actually told him that you speak so much of keeping your vow, but today you can't even give me 3 paces. Where am I going to put my last foot and my last step? Where? You've spoken so much, but you could not deliver. And at that point of time, Bali Maharaj accepts it. And instead of finding fault, instead of saying that this is so unjust of you, He says, "My Lord, because I am unable to fulfill my promise to you, let me put my head below, and you please put your lotus feet on my head." That is the mood of Bali Maharaj. He really practically surrendered himself. He was prepared to give up whatever he had, even his life, just so that he could keep his vow. And when Vamandev saw that, he became very pleased. But externally, he was still very angry. Prahlad Maharaj would come to pacify him. Virochana would come. And then after that, Brahmaji would be there. So many great personalities will speak on his behalf to please be merciful to Bali. And at the end of the day, Vamandev would give more benedictions to Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj will end up in the subterranean planet of Sutala. And there he would get opulences which would be even more than Swargaloka. More than Swargaloka. Indra could not sleep day and night because Bali was sitting in Swargaloka. But in the end, Bali would get more when he goes to Sutala. And not only that, the last benediction, which is so powerful in Bhagavatam, is Vamandev guarantees Bali Maharaj that when you go to Sutala, you will rule there for thousands of years, and I will personally stand there with a club in my hand to protect you. Krishna becomes personal security also. Just imagine how amazing is Krishna. Do you know, if you read the first canto, 16th chapter, I think 16th verse, there it is described that Krishna was so kind to the Pandavas that he would stand watch every night during the Mahabharata war. Outside the tent of the Pandavas, he would stand watch with the sword, right, as a watchman. Krishna was not only a messenger, right? Messenger during the day, he went as a messenger to end the war. He became a charioteer during the day, and night time he was a watchman. This is unprecedented. It was amazing. You know, being a watchman is not a dignified task in the sense of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he did it. He did it. Oh, by the way, when it comes to watchmen, in Rajkot, where we have our temple, we have a watchman in Rajkot who sleeps from 10 to 4 in the morning. And for so many years, we are wondering why we are keeping him as a watchman. Because the time when he has to be awake is the time when he's sleeping very well. And then in the morning when I wake up and come for Mangala-arti, he's there before all of us. And he's ready for Mangala-arti. So a few times we asked him, if you don't stay up in the night, we're going to fire you. But he says, why do I have to stay up in the night when Krishna is the watchman of everything? It's a transcendental watchman. So we don't know whether to fire him or to keep him, because, he's quite transcendental. So I just remembered that because Krishna is a watchman, you see. So this is the greatness of Krishna, that he is very powerful. But more deeper than that is the limb of self-surrender. And now we come to the last point. The last limb is humility. Humility is a very powerful point. And why is it that humility is a quality and yet it is considered to be a limb in this purport? It's very important. In in Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 13, text 8, in the purport, Prabhupada gives a very nice definition of humility. And I think if we meditate on this definition, we will understand why humility is the royal road to Sharanagati. Prabhupada writes that humility means not hankering for the satisfaction of being honored by others. Not hankering for the satisfaction of being honored by others. It's a very deep and very meaningful way to look at humility. Very often if we come to the temple, if we are not careful, we always want to be honored by someone. If we do a nice garland, we are waiting for people to tell us such a nice garland. If someone doesn't tell us something, we may feel insulted, or we may feel in our mind, I'm not being appreciated. So what happens is, after a while, we start having this hankering. We may have stopped so many other hankerings, but subtly this hankering comes. that I want to be seen as a very elevated devotee. I want to hanker for name, for fame, for pran, pratishta. I want adoration. I want people always to pat me on the back and say, oh, Prabhu, wonderful class. Oh, Mataji, wonderful decoration. And the moment I don't have that, that's it. I'm leaving. I'll go to the next temple. So therefore, without humility, we will always be in the position where we are not surrendered to Krishna. Because if we have humility, we will not be hankering for honor. Because we are doing it as a menial servant to Krishna. We are doing it as a form of menial service to Krishna. We will not feel that what we are doing is so great that others must see it and then we become proud of it. We should do it because it will try to please Krishna. And if Krishna wants it, let it be. If Krishna doesn't want it, let it be. In that mood, a devotee becomes humble. The other point about humility that's really important, Bhagavatam tells us, a very simple way to inculcate humility is to be grateful for the greatness of Krishna. Grateful for the greatness of Krishna. Very often, sometimes if we are not careful, if we have been in a temple for a long time, we start thinking that we are indispensable to the congregation. Without me, nothing will happen. Or without me, a lot of difficulty will happen. If I don't come and cook, right, finish, no prasadam, nobody can cook. If I don't come and do the arati, nobody will do it better than I. That is the big danger. That takes us away from surrendering. And that is why, when we understand that Krishna is aham sarvasya prabhavo, mattaha sarvam pravartate. Krishna is the origin of all material and spiritual worlds. Everything is emanating from Krishna. Then what happens to us? We learn to understand that whatever we do is inconsequential next to Krishna. It's inconsequential next to the great devotees of the Lord also, because they are doing such wonderful things. Then what will happen to us is, in that humility, we will actually develop the spirit of gratitude. The more grateful we are to Krishna that we have some service, the less we will hanker for adoration, name and fame. We'll just be grateful that this is for Krishna. And in that way, humility will slowly come into our hearts. One time, Prabhupada in Lilamrita, one devotee had spoken to Prabhupada. And as he was leaving, he said, Prabhupada, I am most fallen. And Prabhupada turned to him and said, you're not most anything. You're not most anything. And if you look at Srila Prabhupada's books, and if you just take the Veda base and do a search on false humility, Prabhupada uses that phrase so many times. Because sometimes, as devotees, we know we have to be humble. If someone comes and says, Prabhu, very nice class, I'll say, no, Prabhu, it was nothing. But inside I'm saying, yes, it was really good. And I'm glad you said that. But I have to say, no, Prabhu, it's nothing, it's nothing, So that's false humility, you see. And when we have that kind of false humility, we hanker actually in our hearts for more and more. No, nothing, but say it anyway. And that's what we want, you see. So today we try to put all of this together, to try and share with you that Sharanagatihi is actually, Gatihi means to attain something, an abode. Sharanam is the process of surrender. So this process is a journey. Just like Ramayanam, Ayanam is a journey, the journey of Lord Ram. All of us have a journey. We should be very careful not to judge each other's level of surrender, because our journeys are different. And every one of us is at a certain stage. What we should do is to serve each other and help each other in our surrender. That is very important. And we should also understand that these limbs, right, we discuss them separately. But as we look at the personalities in Bhagavatam, we realize that actually all the 6 limbs come into play as the personalities surrender to Krishna. Isn't it true? It happens. And one last point. The process of Sharanam is very important. But to whom we surrender is even more important. That's why it was Devahuti. In the 3rd canto, Devahuti in one verse says, Sharanam is important, But Sharanyam is equally important. Sharanyam means, right, one who is worthy of surrender. And Sharanam means to surrender. So many of us in this material world, we are surrendered to many things. Even in spiritual life, we learn to surrender. But we should know that the ultimate person who is worthy of surrender, Sharanyam, is ultimately Krishna. So when our surrender is to the right personality, then the process of Sharanagati becomes very sweet. But when we don't surrender to one who is really worthy of surrender, then there is no self-surrender. What will happen is, we will surrender to all the wrong people. We will surrender to all the wrong situations. And we will never get the joy that comes with Sharanagati. So I wish you all the best in your journey of surrender. Think about these points. Remember yesterday we said in Bhagavatam, Tat Shrinavan Supatan Vicharana Paro. If we want to study and remember all these beautiful points from Shastra, first we hear, then we repeat, and then we recite, and we share, and finally we should contemplate seriously. What does it mean? And how does it apply to our lives? Jai Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki, Nitai Gaura Premanande. Thank you. Are there any comments, questions, violent objections? Yes, Prabhu.
So you mentioned he was given the position as king in Sutala.
Who? Bali Maharaj.
But there was also another promise the Lord made him in the next Manvantara. Bali would be made Indra because he always, his desire was to rule
Yes.
the kingdom of Indra.
Yes.
But he was doing it illegitimately. When he surrendered, he said, you still have the desire. Next Manvantara you will be.
Yes. And so?
So I just wanted to share that
Oh, yeah.
God fulfills even the last desire.
Very, yes, yes, absolutely.
If you have some desire during surrender.
Yes.
Some people surrender without any desire.
Yes.
But deep inside, nobody is without any desire. We have some desire.
Some
That is
element.
why we did surrender to him.
That is
hoping
true.
He will
Yes.
grant that desire. It may not come tomorrow, but it may come when Krishna.
It may come. Dhruva Maharaj was in the same position also. Because even though by the end of his prayers, he felt ashamed for all his desires, yet Krishna fulfilled every desire he had. He ultimately became greater than his father. He ultimately ruled the world for thousands and thousands of years. So yes, Krishna fulfills everyone's desire. But how he fulfills it and in what context he fulfills it, that is his domain. Very nice. Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhuji. Haribol. Thank you, Prabhu.
Enjoyed your 3-day session. So the question I have is, Prabhu, the Lord was so pleased with Gajendra, right? In Gajendra Lila, where instead of he himself came to protect Gajendra.
Yes.
Now, whereas if you see Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni,
Yeah.
the Lord sent the Sudarshan Chakra to protect Ambarish Maharaj.
Yes.
So now both of us are great devotees. Gajendra was great, Ambarish Maharaj is great. How
Yeah.
do we understand in one case he sent the Sudarshan Chakra? He can do the same thing to Gajendra as well. He don't need to come. He can
Yeah.
send his Sudarshan Chakra
Yeah.
and get it done. But he personally came for Gajendra.
Yes. I think the best way to understand it from what little I understand, Prabhu, is Krishna, when he decides to come, he can actually come as himself or as his paraphernalia. And Srila Prabhupada writes very nicely in the purports that the Lord's paraphernalia are not different from him. So if the Lord decides that the situation is such that Sudarshan Chakra should come, Sudarshan Chakra is not different from Krishna. And therefore Krishna's blessings was always on Ambarish Maharaj. In the same way, for Gajendra, Krishna decided, let me come personally and then I will shoot Sudarshan Chakra. That is Krishna's will. And Gajendra got darshan of him. The other point that's also important, Acharyas tell us, is that Gajendra was not at the level of Ambarish Maharaj. Because Ambarish Maharaj did not even ask for Sudarshan Chakra to protect him. He did not. And when the terrible entity released by Durvasa came towards him, he did not utter a prayer to say, please help me. Gajendra did. And so Ambarish Maharaj's devotion and his bhakti was already very mature at the time when he was put to the test. Gajendra's devotional service was beginning because he was put to the test after he was made circumstantially helpless. So the presence of Krishna in the form of Vishnu to assist him was very merciful, because for Gajendra, his faith was premised on taking darshan of the Lord after a long period of pain and difficulty. But Ambarish Maharaj had no such pain, because for him, whether the Lord protects him in this way or the Lord decides not to protect him, it didn't matter to him, because he was fully surrendered to the Lord. So there's a subtle but an important distinction between the level of their devotion and how Krishna reciprocates with that devotion. Is that all right, Prabhu? Mataji, you had a question.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the wonderful class. I'm guilty of just attending this session, but I got
No, that's
notes
fine.
out of it.
That's fine.
Yeah. Great notes out of it. I did have a question towards the end. You mentioned who you surrender to, right? And no doubt Krishna is worthy of the surrender, but just in general life, you mentioned else we will surrender to the wrong people in the wrong situations. So I think when you're saying wrong situations, you're saying do your karma, but leave the outcomes to the Lord.
Yes.
Is that a fair way to see it?
It's a fair way to say it.
Okay.
Sometimes I also meant that sometimes you may surrender to a situation in the sense of there could be a circumstance that leaves you helpless and you think that's the end of everything and you surrender. It's happened sometimes to us. Jai Shri Shri Gaunitai ki, Srinath ji ki, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ji ki. So yes, you're right. That's the context of it.
That's a good point. You're helpless.
Yeah.
Where you're helpless, you can't do much.
Yes,
That's
yes.
the other angle of the situation.
Yes, Mataji.
Secondly, you mentioned the wrong people.
Yes.
But I understand that part, and Krishna is the ultimate. But do you have a comment on ultimately you do land up surrendering to your guru as well, right?
And hopefully a guru is not the wrong person. Yes. Actually, when Devahuti Mata uses the word Sharanyam, she says one who is worthy of surrender. So she means Krishna, naturally. Any devotee who's 10% dedicated to Krishna is also worthy of our surrender. And that is always the way in which we progress in devotional service. But the devotee is worthy of surrender because the devotee is surrendered to Krishna. And unless that is there, it becomes difficult for us to have that surrender. So yeah, it's a very nice point. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Sorry, I'm just trying to see who had put up their hands. Just 1 minute. Yes, yes.
You said that Krishna carries a sword.
As a night watchman, he would unsheath his sword and hold it up.
Like, is there a name for this sword, like Sudarshan Chakra?
No, it doesn't say that, but it is in the word-to-word meaning. No, it's not in that shloka. But Krishna has many swords. It may be found in other parts, but not in this particular point.
Vishaka Hari, she's a very famous Sri Vaishnava.
Yes.
She said the name of the sword is Nandakyan.
Actually, there are several swords. It depends on where you are taking it from. But the important thing is he was holding a sword so that he was actually taking care of his devotees. Prabhu, you had a question. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, as you said, it's a journey and it's a really long journey. But where does one start? The context of all the limbs. It always has to be from 1, 2, 3.
Very good point. Yeah.
It can start.
Yeah. It could start anywhere. Prabhu, it could start anywhere. Because if you see, sometimes you are, generally speaking, why Shastra tells us the first 2 limbs are there is because most of us start by coming to Krishna first. And by doing that, we are actually doing something favorable. And we renounce something unfavorable. And that provides the platform for the other forms of surrender to happen. So practically, that's probably the most easiest way to happen. But some of us may be doing that. And other parts come. We are in a difficulty, but we remember Krishna as our protector. There you are. That limb is already being invoked in you. So it could be a situation where a particular limb becomes more prominent than the other. Not more important, but more prominent because it's more relevant to you in your life. Yes, very much. In Bhagavatam also we see that. Thank you, Prabhu.
And then another point that you said, applying these, contemplating and applying these.
Yes, yes.
But during this process of surrender, how does one do not become careless? Krishna, right? Krishna will do it, and like getting away from the while going into this process, but is still not being reluctant towards your duty.
A very important point. You see, as we surrender, we are not surrendering the fact that we also have our dharmas to fulfill. We are still devotees, we are fathers, mothers, we are brothers, sisters. All of that is not supposed to be something that we just loosely take and say, in the name of surrender, I'm leaving my family now. That surrender has no value, right? So the surrender has to be what we call commonsensical. Common sense means if we follow Bhagavatam, it is an internal mechanism, Prabhu, and it must display itself in the way we grow in our devotional service. Those who are surrendered will inspire others to become surrendered. And that means that you are very careful in all your relationships and all your duties. So Arjuna was surrendered to Krishna, but he thought by surrendering I have to leave the battlefield. But Krishna said, no, surrender here means you fight on the battlefield. But you surrender your reasons and you accept mine and you follow my instructions. Is that helpful, Prabhu? Thank you. One last question, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Today was again another nectar for us. Draupadi's surrender began after the moment she stopped trying to hold on.
Yes.
And where she started to trust. Would you call that also a part of Gajendra?
Very much. Draupadi Mata's surrender was not just actually that particular point. You'll find that throughout her life, Draupadi was a great devotee of the Lord. In fact, if you remember the pastime of the Akshay Patra, you'll find actually the pastime of that was the surrender of Draupadi at the lotus feet of Krishna. Krishna, I'm helpless now. I cannot do anything. You only can help me. When the Pandavas decided that they will go to the north now, Bhagavatam tells us that they did not inform Draupadi. Imagine, husbands and wives. One morning the husband just decides, I'm going to renounce the world. And then the wife wakes up and realizes, hey, he didn't tell me about it. That's what happened with Draupadi, right? If you read 1:15:50 in the purport, 1:15:50, you'll find there that Prabhupada writes, Draupadi was not told. She was not told that the husbands were going. But because she had so much faith in the Lord, she was not perturbed by it. She also left. But her journey was her journey. She was not moving because her husband was moving, but because she had her own surrender to Krishna.
Knowing Krishna Prabhu, that he is the Supreme Personality of God, and Draupadi had such close quarters with Krishna.
Yes.
Why did she kind of still hold on to her sari?
Sometimes, Mataji, you will find Prabhupada gives us in the purport. Sometimes Prabhupada says that the best way to teach a daughter-in-law what to do in the kitchen is actually to instruct the daughter. So very often that happens, isn't it? Right? Somebody laughed. It happens actually. Right? I can't tell the daughter-in-law something, so what do? I fire the daughter in front of the daughter-in-law and say, what are you doing in the kitchen? Hopeless. She gets the point. Oh, okay, I better do something. Right? So Prabhupada is expert. He's genius. That's what he says. So in the same way, very often Krishna puts devotees into situations where they teach us the difficulties and the challenges that we will face. Parikshit Maharaj was a liberated, pure devotee. He didn't have to put a garland of snake on Shamika Rishi. But Prabhupada says that he was part of a higher will of the Lord to hasten Bhagavatam. So when Draupadi Mata holds on to her sari, it is not that she has been clouded in ignorance because she has no faith in Krishna. But she's showing us that faith in Krishna means complete, unreserved surrender. And so initially when she does that, Krishna doesn't appear. But when she puts both her hands up in surrender, Krishna then saves her. And that is a principle that we have to learn from the great devotees like Draupadi Mata. Not that they are in difficulty, but their lessons are ours to follow. Very nice point. Thank you very much for your time, and I wish you all the best in your devotional service. What do we do now, Premier? Finish. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Let's thank His Grace, Devakinandan Prabhu, for a wonderful lecture and for the lectures that he did since Friday, Saturday, and today. With the three loud Haribos. Haribo! 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 Prabhuji, please come more often. Thank you so much. If anyone would like to surrender today, we need help with cleaning upstairs. So let me know. Thank you. I don't know.
Pay for the flowers, and then go home and then do it
Sure,
on Zoom.
that's fine.
Which one do I use? Donations centers or New Jersey?
I think donations are
Yeah, that one, right?
it's gone out New Jersey.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I didn't expect the question.
Yeah, don't worry. How are you doing?
51, right?
Yes, I think it's 151.
I'm doing okay, thank you. One day at a time.
Yeah, I know it's tough. How's your son doing?
He's had his moments.
Yeah, I can imagine it's tough.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, I got Krishna give
Yeah,
you
we have to,
strength.
I think.
Did you come for the earlier ones?
Today only, not yesterday. I was listening online though. The quality was good. Thank God.
Or was it? Because somebody messaged earlier saying, oh, they couldn't hear the earlier today. This class, yeah.
I heard it. I heard the part two, like the initial. It was good.
Oh,
So 2:30.
What's your name?